Let's talk about an ancient engineering marvel that pretty much shatters our modern ideas of progress. This is a story of a lost technology, a mystery that's about 1,500 years old, and it challenges everything we think we know about innovation.
Okay, just look at this. On one side, you've got the dome of the Roman Pantheon, built almost 2,000 years ago, and it's still perfect. On the other side, a highway overpass from the 1970s, and it's already cracking and falling apart. It just doesn't make sense, right? How is that even possible?
So, this is the big puzzle we're going to unpack. How on earth did an ancient civilization, without all our fancy modern science, create a building material that's so much better than what we have today? Let's dive in.
First up, we're going to investigate the mystery itself, because for centuries, that's exactly what it was, a complete and total mystery.
You see, the secret isn't just about their brilliant architecture. Although, let's be real, the Romans were absolute geniuses at that. No, the real magic is hidden deep inside the material itself. It's all about its unique and almost, magical composition.
So, if the magic is in the material, what was the secret recipe? Let's break down the ingredients the Romans were using, the stuff that we somehow completely forgot about.
It starts with a few things that sound familiar, like lime. But the key, the absolute game changer, was volcanic ash, a specific kind they called Pozzolana. And get this, for buildings by the sea, like piers and breakwaters, they actually used seawater in the mix. That's something any modern engineer will tell you is a huge no-no.
And this is where things get really wild. You know how modern concrete breaks down when it's exposed to rain and weather? Well, Roman concrete did the exact opposite. Getting wet didn't weaken it, it actually made it stronger. It literally had a superpower.
So how in the world did that work? This is the real aha moment of the story. The concrete wasn't just ridiculously durable, it could literally heal itself.
The science all boils down to this incredible substance called aluminum tobermorite. You can think of these as these super rare microscopic crystals. But in Roman concrete, they weren't just sitting there. They were alive in a way, actively growing and linking up to reinforce the whole structure from the inside. So here's how it happens. A tiny little crack forms and some water gets in. Now in our concrete, that's game over. That's the beginning of the end. But in Roman concrete, that water kicks off a chemical reaction with the volcanic ash. And then these new tobermorite crystals start to grow, literally stitching the crack closed from the inside out. The damage actually makes it heal.
This self-healing ability isn't some happy accident. It's the entire reason these incredible structures are still around. It's why Roman harbors can take a 2,000-year-long beating from ocean waves. And it's why the Pantheon's dome hasn't just collapsed into a pile of rubble.
Okay, but this just leads to an even bigger and maybe even stranger mystery. If this stuff was so revolutionary, why on earth did we stop using it? How did this knowledge get lost for 1,500 years?
This timeline really shows you how huge the gap was. You have Roman engineering hitting its peak, then the empire falls apart, and then just nothing. A 1,500-year-long black hole. The recipe was gone, completely vanished, only to be rediscovered in our lifetime.
I mean, just think about that for a second. This isn't some minor craft. This is a foundational pillar of their entire civilization. How does something so vital just evaporate?
Well, the answer comes down to how they stored information. Today, we've got databases, textbooks, the internet. Our system is pretty resilient. The Romans? They didn't have that. Their knowledge lived inside of people. It was passed down from a master builder to an apprentice through years and years of hands-on work. It was a really effective system, but it was also incredibly fragile.
So when the Western Roman Empire collapsed, that chain of knowledge from master to apprentice, it just shattered. And the consequences were immediate. For hundreds of years, builders in Europe were literally standing in front of these magnificent Roman aqueducts and domes and had absolutely no clue how they were built. The knowledge was just gone.
You can actually make the case that whole architectural styles, like Gothic architecture, weren't just about aesthetics, they were a reaction to this loss. Without the secret to making massive, solid concrete domes, they had to invent totally new ways, like flying buttresses, just to build big and tall. It was innovation born from forgetting.
And really, this whole story is so much bigger than just concrete. It forces us to ask some pretty tough questions about our idea of technological progress and what it even means to be advanced. The final piece of this ancient puzzle came from cutting-edge modern science. Researchers like Marie Jackson's team at UC Berkeley used incredibly powerful electron microscopes to analyze ancient samples. And after 1,500 years, they finally cracked the chemical code.
It literally took 21st century tools to understand first century tech.
And this isn't some isolated fluke. Thinkers like Thomas Kuhn have talked about how entire scientific worldviews can just disappear and be replaced. The story of Roman concrete is the perfect, real-world example of this. It's a huge lesson in just how fragile human knowledge can be.
So, this all leaves us with a final pretty mind-bending thought. We love to think of history and progress as this constant upward climb, always getting better and smarter. But what if it's not a straight line? What if it's more like a circle, where incredible wisdom gets lost and then, centuries later, rediscovered? What other ancient genius have we completely forgotten, just waiting for us to find it again?